Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. I am your host, Mitch Lafon. I have got absolutely no co-host for you this week. I've got two great interviews. One with Eric Martinson of Swedish band Eclipse. They've got a great new album called Armageddonize, and we've got Journey's Deen Castronovo. He's got a new band called Revolution Saints with Zakk Wylde of Night Ranger and Doug Aldrich, formerly of Whitesnake, and currently with Burning Rain. And there's just so much that we talked about. We spoke about, of course, the upcoming Journey Canadian tour. We talked about Bad English, Wild Dogs, Hardline, Neal Schon and what he means to him in his life, Cacophony, Jason Becker, Marty, Friedman, recording the Ozzy Osbourne album Ozzmosis, what it was like to be in Ozzy's band for that short period of time, Zakk Wylde, and of course, former Journey lead singer Steve Perry. So why don't we just get right into this and let's listen to Deen Castronovo talk about Revolution Saints. Here's Deen.
Yes, sir.
Great album. I was sent the album probably before Christmas, and absolutely wonderful.
Oh, dude, you know what? I'm grateful that this record came about. It's a lot of fun. I honestly am in shock that it came about. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah. So tell me how it got all together. I mean, you know, you've got Zakk Wylde doing the Night Ranger thing, and they just had an album come out, and of course,
Yeah.
Doug Aldrich is doing Burning Rain and other stuff. Did
Yeah.
you know the guys at all? I mean, other than, you know, seeing them at a cocktail party, are these buddies of yours?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I've known Zakk Wylde since I was 17. I was in a metal band called Wild Dogs, and
Yes.
his lighting director, Night Ranger's lighting director, was the band Wild Dogs. He was our manager. So
Okay.
we actually had Jack and Jeff Watson come and listen to a couple tracks when we were recording one of our records. And I got to know him through them, and then we've always kept in contact. And then, of course, we've done projects with Neil. He came in and helped me with a lot of the stuff Neil was writing on the So You record, and of course, touring with Journey. We've had Night Ranger open up many shows with us, and Jack's a brother. I mean,
Right.
he will be a brother for life. I've known him for so long, and he's so talented and such an amazing singer-songwriter. You know, I'm very, very blessed to have him, and of course, Doug. I knew Doug from back in the Lion days,
Right.
and then when he joined Whitesnake, and there's like, I mean, we did some shows with Whitesnake in I believe it was 2012 or 13. I'm not exactly sure which year. They kind of run into each other,
Right.
but we got really close during that time. And Doug's a brother, man. Again, another great talent. I mean, he's just one of the most amazing players I've ever had the opportunity to work with. He's ridiculous.
Oh, Doug is fantastic, you know. Now
Yeah.
here's the thing. Zakk Wylde sings. He's known as to be a singer, and you've done some stuff with Journey, but mostly in the background role. Now you're up front and just sounding like, you know, I don't want to sound rude, but singing like a motherfucker, quite frankly. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
dude, thank you, man.
Was there any trepidation going into it? Did you always want to be a lead vocalist? Just sort of tell me about how all that came about and what it meant to you.
Well, to be honest with you, I've always wanted to be a lead vocalist.
Okay.
I never had, pardon my language, the balls to pull it off,
Right.
honestly. I mean, I've been behind the drum set. It's very easy to sing behind an arsenal of drums, but to actually be out front and to try and sing on the whole record was daunting. I was scared. I got to be honest. It was like I needed Alessandro Del Vecchio, the
Right.
producer. I needed his help because I really didn't know where to go with this. It was my first time singing on a record, and I hope that the fans and the people that buy it understand this is my first shot. Give me a break. Don't kill me too bad. It's a very scary thing. And thank goodness that Alessandro pulled a lot out of me. But yeah, it was frightening. I'm not going to lie, bro. It was frightening.
Yeah, and by the way, in terms of people buying it, I think people are going to actually support this. And I'll tell you what, just my personal experience. Like I said, I was sent a copy a couple of months ago, and I loved it so much that I went to Pledge Music and I picked up the deluxe edition that you can buy on Pledge. And I also bought the Japanese import because there's supposedly another bonus track. So I'm covering all my bases on this one. It's that good.
Awesome, dude. I'm still waiting for a copy, to be honest with you.
So, let's talk about that. So you were scared to go in and be a singer. When you listen back to it, are you happy with the way your vocals sound, or are you sort of your man's own worst critic, where you go, "Oh, could have done better"?
Dude, the latter. I listen back and go, damn, I could have sung that better. Or, you know, I could have put more feeling into that. Oh, damn, that line sounds beachy or dumb, you know. But all of us are our own worst critics. And
absolutely.
You know, as far as drums, I listen to that back and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. I could have changed a few things there, but I'm really, really picky on what I did vocally because it's my first time. And I listen back and go, yeah, I could have done a lot of things differently and a lot of things better. But, you know, for my first shot, not too bad for the first time, you know.
Not too shabby. You know, when I listened to it and people started saying to me, Mitch, what does it sound like? I said, well, think of Journey on steroids.
Perfect, dude. That is perfect. Exactly.
But speaking of that, were you afraid that maybe if it sounded too much like Journey, people would say, well, why didn't they keep this song? Like, was there any conscious effort to make it sound like Journey or try not to make it? Or was that just like, listen, we're just going to put out the best songs we have?
I think that's what it was, bro, the latter. We just wanted to put out the best songs. Alessandro had these all written. Right. They were all ready to go, and they gave us the demos, and we just put our spin on it. And to compare it to Journey, dude, is an honor. Honestly, it's an honor. And I'm grateful that people even think it. Oh. That, you know, that it's close to a Journey record. Because are you kidding? Journey, those guys are the best songwriters of my generation, in my opinion.
Yep.
I mean, Neil, Jonathan, Ross, Steve Smith, and Steve Perry, to me, wrote the best songs. I mean, they were the soundtrack of my teen years. I grew up with Journey. So to even be compared in a little way like Journey is a massive compliment, bro. But we never really went that way with it. I think my vocals, I mean, Steve Perry was my biggest influence as a singer. Steve Perry and Paul Stanley. Those were my singing influences. Yeah. So, you know, it was inevitable that it was going to sound like that. I mean, Steve had his, you know, influences like Sam Cooke and many others. You know, I had Paul Stanley and Mr. Perry. So it's going to sound the way it sounds. I can't be anybody else than who I am. And, of course, being a member of Journey for 17 years, it's going to come out. It is what it is. I mean, it's you know, I have much respect for being in Journey and having Neil allow me to grow and do this project, you know. I mean, we had his blessing, and then I really have to go through them. They're my brothers. They're my best friends, and they allowed me to do this. And you know, having the Journey comparisons, bro, is an honor, and I'm humbled.
Oh, it really is. Humbled. It's that solid. Which brings me to this. Then, is this a one-off, or is this a band that, when schedules allow, you'll make more records and you'll hit the road?
Oh, dude, definitely. This is not a one-off.
Okay.
You know, we did the songs that Alessandro had written, but we want to get in, and we're talking about getting together, all three of us, in June, and starting to write and perform and get ready for a tour. We've got a drummer that is going to end up playing drums on some songs, and I'm going to come out in the front and be a drummer. And which is another scary little situation, but I figure that's just the natural, you know, succession of things. I'm going to pull off that and you know, take a page from the Phil Collins Genesis Don Henley Eagles thing. We're going to try it, you know.
But that's
we're definitely going to tour, bro. We're definitely going to do some shows, and we're definitely going to do another couple records if the fans want it.
Well, listen, this fan wants it because I love it. But
dude, awesome.
But let me. I didn't know that you were going to have. You were going to go out front. So now you've been performing as a drummer, and I was going to talk about the Wild Dogs and Cacophony and all this stuff. Yeah. You go way back behind the kit. You know, 35 years of the guy behind the drums. Being out front is a whole different ball game. You got to know how to work a crowd. You got to. I mean, you know that.
Oh yeah, dude.
So how do you prepare for that?
I mean, I you know, I'm going to do the best I can. I mean, I guess I look at it that way. I mean, I've always been challenged as a drummer with every band or every artist that I've worked with. They've always challenged me as a player to, bring out the best in me. Being a lead singer and being out in front, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm going to give it my best shot, and I believe it'll work. That's all I can do is have faith that I'm going to go out there and do the best I can. I mean, I've been sitting behind some of the greatest frontmen, of my time,
right?
Especially Arnel. You look at Arnel; he's the most amazing frontman ever. So I'm taking a cue from all these guys and learning. Yeah, I'm not just sitting back there playing my drums. I'm watching.
I know. Let me ask you about Arnel, because he is on one track on the song. Since we planned this interview together, Journey has announced a date in my town in Montreal in July. The first show Arnel did with Journey, which was that live TV broadcast, trying to think what country it was in. Anyway, Neal and some of the guys said he ran around like a bumblebee and we didn't know what the hell he was doing. Tell me a little bit about Arnel. I mean, I've seen him since. He's calm, he's poised, his voice is fantastic. You had him come on the album. Big shoes to fill. I mean, he stepped in for Steve Perry. I mean, that's not some schmo that he's replacing, and yet he pulled it off.
No, dude, and it's true. He came in and he humbly accepted that part, and I believe he has sold it. The kid is just amazing. I call him a kid because he's 3 years younger than me, but he's not a kid. He's just an amazing vocalist and honestly an amazing frontman. When he was running around in that show, it was called Vina Del Mar, and it was in Chile.
Right, Chile, that's the one.
Santiago, Chile. And dude, it was like amazing because I was a little concerned. I knew he had the voice. I was like, well, is he going to be able to work a crowd? I mean, he's been working clubs. But dude, he just came out and he wailed. And it was no holds barred. He just went out and nailed it and commanded the audience. And we knew then, it was like, even though the band was going, wow, man, you need to slow down. You just need to sing the parts. They didn't realize that he was singing all the parts and still running around.
Oh, he's running around like crazy.
In the crowd. He's amazing.
Right. Yeah, no, he's great. Speaking of Journey and Arnel, and of course he's on the Revolution Saints album, is there a new Journey album in the works as well?
We haven't talked about it. Right now we're a touring machine.
Right.
And I'm sure Neal, he's always, his mind is always working. Trying different things and working on different things. And I'm sure there'll be another record. But right now we're just touring. And I would think maybe in 2017 there might be something. But it's really up to Neal, Jonathan, and Ross. When they're ready to go in the studio, Arnel and I just follow along.
So let's talk about Neal. You've done Planet Us, Soul Circus, not Eclipse, Hardline. The album was Double Eclipse. And other stuff, Bad English. Tell me about working with Neal. I mean, and of course he's on the Revolution Saints album as well on a track. What does he mean to you, and what does he mean to you as a player?
Okay, well, he's like a real brother. Honestly, I'm the little brother he never wanted. I'm the guy that he's like, oh my god. But we work very similar along the lines of Alex and Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he grabbed me in Bad English and has taken me to every position that he's worked with. He's been a very, very major supporter of me and has always, taken me along with him whenever there's a situation that he wants to work on. And I'm blessed for that. That's what he means to me as a person. As a player, I've played with all those thrash guys. I've played with all those shredder guys. Mm-hmm. There's no one like Neal. When he plays a solo, and you can just see in his face the passion and the soul that he represents when he's playing, it's unmatched. I've worked with all those guys, and I'll tell you something. Neal's one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and he is. He's a brother. We play off of each other, bro. Yeah. When we're playing live with Journey, and he's having a bad night, I can actually read him. And a lot of guys can't, but I can look at him and go, okay, I know what he doesn't want, and I know what he does want. And when he's on fire and he's looking at me in the eyes, man, we both fly together. And that's not normal. But I've been with him since I was 23. I mean, it's inevitable. We're locked together. He and I, man. If it wasn't for Neal Schon, I'd have no career. I owe him everything, bro.
Yeah, well, hey, it's not a bad person to be indebted to. I mean, he's certainly
not at all, dude. He's a god.
Yeah, and listen, I've had a chance to interview him, and he was so kind. I mean, and everything he's done goes to gold. I mean, it's just brilliant. You mentioned shredders. Let's talk about a couple. Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, Cacophony. You played on those albums. I interviewed Jason recently through his father because Jason has ALS.
Right.
Are you in touch with the family at all? Do you?
I haven't been in touch with them, and and a lot of it has to do with us being on the road, and we're so damn busy. And I need to get in touch with Jason. I would love to work with him again. I know he's doing a lot of writing, and he's actually doing a lot of recording.
Absolutely, he is.
I would be forever indebted to work with him. I mean, when we did the Cacophony records, those two guys together were ferocious. It was just the songs that those two guys came up with, and the stuff that I recorded with them. It's just, I mean, for me, it's the pinnacle of my drumming. To be honest with you, that's when I shined the most as a drummer. Was when I worked with those guys. To me, that's when I became, the progressive metal drummer that I was at that time. And then, of course, joining, Bad English and Journey, I kind of went in a different direction and learned how to play as a team member and not just on your mark, set, go.
Right.
But honestly, Marty and Jason, honestly, out of all the guys I played with during those times, Tony McAlpine as well, those two guys really brought out a lot of the metal drummer in me, and that was huge. Because, I was always considered, the house drummer for Shrapnel Records. So to work with those guys was an honor, because I remember the Cacophony records with Atma, Anur, and it was like, holy crap, what is this? This is amazing. And to get the opportunity to play with both of those guys on the Go Off record was, honestly, it was humbling. It was very humbling. I love Jason and Marty very much.
We all know that Marty went off and did Megadeth and then moved over to Japan and had a brilliant career. Jason did the David Lee Roth stuff, and his career got cut short.
Yeah.
What do you think? Had he not had that illness, would he be considered a guitar god these days?
Oh, God. He still is to me. Okay. I mean, I've heard some of the stuff he's done, while he's in that wheelchair. And honestly, dude, it's mind-blowing.
Yep.
Because, he's a genius. Jason is a genius. Yep. Bottom line. When we were working together during those sessions, Marty had his thing, and he was amazing as well. But Jason had this thing, you could tell that he had this fire about him, as well as Marty. They both had this fire, and they both went their directions, but Jason just shined. Man, he just shone. There was just something about him. And honestly, he was hilarious, too. I got to say that. He's one of the most hilarious guys. When I did that record, that guy kept me laughing non-freaking stop. Yeah. I mean, it was fun to work with both of those guys. It was just incredible. But yeah, Jason, he still is. I believe he still is. He's a prodigy. He really is.
Yeah, he really is. And when I did my interview with him about 3 months ago, we did it over Skype, and they insisted that we do it video. And when you go to YouTube and watch it, it's just exceptionally compelling. First of all, to see his dad help him out with the answers, and it's just a very compelling visual. It really is. Let me move on in terms of shredders. You also worked with Zakk Wylde on the Ozzy Osbourne Ozzmosis record. Again, you're doing the whole metal thing at this point. Tell me about working with Ozzy, because that in itself has got to be a special kind of moment.
Oh, dude, that was one of the highlights of my career, was getting the shot to play with Ozzy. And I worked with him for almost 3 years, from 93 to 95, end of 95. And, I remember working with Zakk and Keezer in the, at Sony Studios, writing songs for Ozzy. And he would come in and he would do his thing, and it was incredible. And I've even got demos, of us rehearsing the songs with Ozzy on them. And it's just it's amazing. And honestly, to be let go from that job was devastating. Honestly, it was just devastating to me, because I've always wanted to play with Ozzy. I always wanted to be the metal drummer to play with Ozzy, and when I got let go, it was heartbreaking, and I was ready to give up. I wasn't going to play anymore. After that, I was like, I was with my wife at that time. I said, I don't want to play anymore. I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And because it was so devastating. And some of the things that were written about me afterwards just broke my heart. It's like, wow, man, it was just a hard time for me. But I was grateful that I was able to pick myself back up, and thankful to Neil to give me the shot with Journey. And I've been in Journey 17 years, not as a sideman, but as a partner. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I do want to get to your journey to Journey, without trying to sound redundant. But I want to get to how you got there. But I just want to hit one more guitarist. You also did 2 albums with Steve Vai.
Yes.
Very different. I mean, it's mostly instrumental, if not, in fact, I think both of those albums are fully instrumental, right? There's no vocals on those 2. He went off and did Whitesnake, and he's done the 3G stuff. Again, a musical genius. And if I can relate one story that I have with Steve, as I interviewed him on the back of the bus, and he had a computer open, and as he was doing the interview, he was typing in notes into a program. He was literally writing a song while he was answering my questions, and I was like, wow, how the hell do you do that?
Yeah, dude. No, he's a genius. Yeah, and when I worked with Steve, that was another one. I was nervous again because he's Steve Vai, and the guy he's a complete genius. He's just so prolific, and his ideas just come out. And how I got to know him was on the Whitesnake tour. Bad English was opening for Whitesnake, and Steve would come out and watch. And I remember one time he came up to me and said, "You play to a click?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Can you cancel the click out?" I said, "Well, that's what I try to do every night." He goes, "Give me your number." And that was it. I remember doing that. He called me in to do the Ozzy gig. Wow. He was working with me
Ozzy
and Steve and Bob Daisley at the time, and a bass player named Todd Jensen. And we ended up starting to write songs, and he ended up getting let go. But I ended up doing a couple records with him. I did, Kill the Guy with the Ball, which was by far the hardest recording I've ever done in my life. And he was so patient, bro. You wouldn't believe. I mean, he helped me through that, and he kept telling me repetition is the key. Just keep listening to the song, you'll get it. And it took me like 6 hours to get it, but I got it. And but he was really ultra patient. He wasn't like, "Damn it, you need to do this." He was like, "Try again. This is what it's going to sound like. This is what I want you to do." He walked me through that whole song. So that was really huge. I'm grateful to work with him too. I mean, come on.
Another
amazing.
As a drummer, when you go from Wild Dogs to Vai to Soul Circus to Journey to Bad English to the Eclipse, Hardline. The album's double Eclipse. And I also keep saying Eclipse because on the Revolution Saints album you have the song "To Mend a Broken Heart," which is from the Swedish band Eclipse, etc., etc.
Yep. It's kind of confusing, isn't it?
It's confusing. It's confusing, this old codger right here. So, but how do you adjust to all these different styles? Do you have to sort of? Is it just in you, or do you sort of say, okay, today we're making a melodic rock album. Let me think. I got to have this tempo and this. I mean, tell me a little bit about it. Is it just natural, or do you have to work at it?
Honestly, it's natural. I mean, I've been able to play almost every style with the exception of country.
That's next week.
Yeah, I'll do that next. I mean, if Rascal Flatts calls me, I'll do a record with them. I'd love it.
There you go. See? We'll put that out there.
It is. It's, when you think of Journey and you think of the melodic stuff, you think, okay, I got to play for the song. It's not all about me.
Right.
And then when you play records like Steve Vai, he's pulling out the best in you. So you've got to rise to that occasion.
And Cacophony doesn't want to let you sit.
Every record I do differently. You've got to really get in the mindset of what is this music speaking to you, and what it's speaking to you. Are you going to be able to carry that conversation in the recording? Carry that conversation with that song, and that's what I've had to do is you adjust accordingly, and I've been fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah, and the success speaks for itself. Bad English. When I See You Smile. Listen, any word, but it was a smash. It was a hit. It was, 2 albums, band, fell apart, dissipated, broke up, whatever you want to call it. Tell
Yeah.
me about the good part about being in that band, and then what happened? Why couldn't this have gone on and been, a 10-album band with 13 number one hits?
Well, for me, it was a dream come true. That was my first major band, and I was 23, and I remember getting my first gold record and calling my parents in tears, honestly, in tears, going, "I can't believe it, Dad, I made it. Mom, I made it. I've got a gold record." And then 2 months later, it was platinum.
Let me stop you there for a second. Let me stop you right there. Did Mom and Dad spend your entire teenage years saying, "Dude, just get a job, stop it with this music stuff"?
Yes, bro. I remember my dad going, "You need something to fall back on." And it went in one ear and out the other. I knew what my intention was, and nobody could stop it. I remember at the age of 5 going, "I know I'm going to be a drummer." I knew then, at 5 years old, I knew I was going to play drums. And amazing as that sounds, it's the truth.
Yeah.
My parents, I can remember practicing in the garage after school. I'd get out of school and 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'd play drums until 6, till my dad came home from work, and he would open the garage door and say, "Damn it, I'm home." And he would slam the door, and you'd quit. You'd stop playing drums. But, yeah, they never thought, I don't think they ever thought in a million years that it could amount to what I'm doing now. Right. I can remember getting my first check from Journey, my first, major check, and my dad was in shock. He was in shock. And now he's my biggest fan. For a long time, he's like, "Oh, you can't do it. How can you do anything out of Salem, Oregon?" Well, I had to move to San Francisco, but once I did, thanks to Neil and Mike Varney, none of this would ever happen.
I can just imagine when you were 15, your dad must have been, "Ugh, my son's a rock star," and now it's, "Hey, my son's a rock star," right?
Dude, totally. It was like that. I was like, "Oh my God, he's going to do this for a living. That's a bunch of hogwash. You can't make money doing that." I brought my first check home from Journey. This was in 98 or 99, our first tour with Foreigner opening up. And I brought it home, and I actually made a copy of it for him. I said, "Look, Papa." And he got teary. He was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, it just blew his mind.
Yeah,
and now, are you kidding? He wears Journey shirts everywhere he goes.
That's right. And he's blacked out all the other faces. He's just left a little spot where you can see your face and go, "See?"
Exactly, dude, totally. And he's 85, dude. He is still on fire.
Yeah.
He's 85, and he still comes to the shows, and he's the only surviving Papa out of everybody in the band. He's the only one that's still alive. And, he's like the band's father.
Wow. Well, that's got to be a good feeling. You want your son to do well, and I'm glad it worked out. After Bad English broke up or dissipated or whatever happened to it, you mentioned Todd Jensen. You, Todd, Neil got together and put out a little album called Double Eclipse and had another incredible hit with Hot Sherry, which still plays on Sirius XM, still is all over the place. Great song. Hardline as a band still exists. How come you guys sort of parachuted in and then parachuted out? Tell me a little bit about what your connection to Hardline is and how the band manages to still exist in 2015, but without you guys.
Well, Hardline, I came into that. Neil was working with John and Joe Gioeli that were in a band called Brunette at the time in L.A., and Neil ended up marrying John and Joe's sister, Dina. And, so we ended up doing the record, and we're getting ready to do the second record, and then Neil divorced Dina. So everything just kind of fell apart. And then Neil asked me to go play with him and brought Todd in as well, to play with Paul Rogers on the Muddy Waters Blues tour. So, honestly, the reason Hardline still exists is Johnny. Right. Johnny is so talented. And he's an amazing singer, amazing songwriter, and an all-around just a sweetheart of a guy. And the music that those guys write, it's timeless. I love that stuff. I still buy some of the Hardline records on iTunes. I still do.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of John. He's just, he never gave up, and that was really his baby. Hardline was his baby. So, when we ended up leaving, he still kept it going. And I'm very proud of John. He's, like I said, that's a real lead singer. My first time I did pretty good, but that guy is such an amazing talent. And I give I just wish him the best. He's amazing.
It's great melodic rock. Now, I do have to go in about 5 minutes because I have an appointment to get to. I unfortunately have heart surgery coming up, so I got to go
Okay.
get checked out. But I did want to ask you quickly before I have to pack in, and I apologize for that.
No, not a problem.
Journey is in Montreal on July 28th.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about this Canadian date. First of all, do we know who the opening band is, and is it any kind of is it just going to be like a greatest hits presentation, or what are we going to see?
Well, I don't know who the opening act is. I
Okay.
really haven't been privy to that information right now. But we got to do the Dirty Dozen. We have to do the greatest hits. The fans
Yep.
want to hear that.
Yep.
So we got to do it, bro.
Especially in a market like Canada that you don't come to so often. I think the last time might have been 2008, maybe 2009.
Well, I think we were out there. Boy, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
we did a Canadian tour. I believe that could be wrong. Around 2013.
Was
we
it
did
really?
a Canadian run? From Toronto all the way through. I mean, we actually did.
Okay. You might be right.
Saskatoon, dude. I'll never forget Saskatoon because it was like 23 below zero. It was freezing.
Yeah, that's
and I would
Saskatoon.
go out to have a cigarette, literally, and have a puff and go, forget it, man.
Yeah, I'm quitting.
So cool.
Well, I saw you at the Bell Center. Maybe it was only 2 years ago.
Yeah. But you know what, dude? I love Canada. I mean, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I live in Oregon.
Yep.
And going to Canada, it's like, going back home. I mean, it's beautiful there, especially in the summer, dude. I mean, come on, it's just stunning.
Yeah,
So,
Montreal.
we're ready to go. I love it there. I can't wait to go do it.
Yeah, Montreal in July is an absolutely gorgeous place. I'll be more than happy to show you around if you want. Just call me back and I'll.
Dude, that would be great. You got my number. Call me. I'd love to go check it out. I love that area.
Absolutely, and oh God, I wish I could go on for another half hour, but I'll finish with this. Steve Perry last year got on stage with the band Eels, did a bunch of songs. Were you surprised? Did the band members of Journey currently just go, wow, look at that? And despite everything that's gone on, did you sort of say, hey, good for him?
Yeah, and that was the consensus of the whole band. I was like, you know what? Steve Perry. No one can touch him. He's the voice, man. Arnell can do, the songs very well. I do a couple songs very well, but nobody can touch Mr. Perry. No one can touch Steve because he is Steve. Yeah. And he has that thing. And we were all just very, very grateful that he's out doing what he loves, and finally coming back to do what he loved. For a long time he was, away. And, we didn't know what had happened to him because, of course, we talk to attorneys. We don't talk, phone call to phone call. We can't call him and he doesn't call us. But to see him come back, everybody was like, you know what? Good for him. If he wants to come back and do his thing, come on. He's Steve. He should be able to. Yeah. And it was a blessing to see him. It actually warmed our hearts to see him come back, honestly. Well, all right, man. I would still love to work with him, dude. I mean, he probably wouldn't work with me to save his life, but God, it would be an honor. Are you kidding?
Yeah, it would be because, he actually said one of the saddest things to me in an interview. I asked him why he had stopped singing. This was probably back in 2005. And he said, well, my parents died and they would never be able to come see me again. So what's the point? And I just thought that was incredibly sad, but also in a way very heartwarming that he did that just for his mom and dad. And now that they're not there, then he doesn't have a point to do it. So it was both sad and heartwarming at the same time. So to see him come back and do those shows, it was like, good for him. Good for him.
And I agree with you, man. I mean, that must be hard. I haven't lost a family member, honestly. Yeah. And I would never know what that's like. I'll know someday, but I don't know what that's like. And Steve had to do what he had to do. Yeah. I remember when he was doing the
Don't Stop Believing stuff with
documentary, the thing, behind the music, and he said, you know what, Journey can't be the only thing that floats my boat. And I get that. Yep. I do. I get that. It's like, even though I'm a member of Journey and I love it, my priority, honestly, is my wife and my kids.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Journey fell apart. You know what? My two constants are God and my family, and that's all I'll ever have. Yep. Journey will go away. Revolution Saints will go away.
Yep.
My most important thing is my family, and
Yep.
and because I need to be there for them. Bands will come and go, and I totally agree with Steve. There gets to a point. You get to a point where it's like, is this worth it?
Yep.
Is this really what I want to do the rest of my life? Now, when I come off the road, bro, it's family. I mean, I'm there for baseball batting camps and pitching camps and basketball games. I am there for my kids. I don't touch my drum set when I come home. I do not touch them because that's like bringing my work home. I don't need to. To me, the most important thing is being home and being present. Not just there for my kids, but present for them. Because that's my only legacy. That's all I'm going to ever have on this planet.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And, that's probably a good place for us to stop. But I will end up with saying this. Revolution Saints is by far the best melodic rock album that is going to come out in 2015. I've sat for it for 2 months. I am not tired of it.
Thank you.
Turn Back Time, Back on My Trail, To Mend a Broken Heart. I mean, just fantastic stuff.
Oh, you know what that means to me to hear that, bro? Honestly, because honestly, we did not go into this thinking this was going to be huge. We did this, us three. We did this because Serafino asked us to do it, and it was fun. We just wanted to have fun. I didn't think it'd sell, record one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
None of us expected what is happening right now. And honestly, all three of us are in freaking shock. We never thought this would do this. We never did, bro. And that, what you just said, means the world to me. Honestly,
You're welcome.
bro. Because it was my first time. This is my first shot, and I'm grateful that people are accepting it.
I'm amazed that you wouldn't think that it would be accepted. I mean, you've got the guy from Cacophony, right? You've got Jack Blades and you've got Doug Aldrich. I mean, these are not three lightweights. These are three heavyweights of the genre. So how could it not be good?
I think for us, dude, we were just going to add it to have fun.
Yep.
I really didn't think of it as it was going to be. I mean, I knew it would sell some records. Obviously, it's going to sell something.
Right.
But I can't believe the power that you guys, the journalists, have put into this and how much you guys love it. It's like, honestly, we didn't. And this is no lie. We never thought that it was going to be this major.
Oh no!
And we're, like I said, we're still in shock. Jack called me yesterday. He goes, "Dude, can you believe the heat behind this thing?" I'm like, No. I'm stunned, bro.
No,
I am freaking stunned.
It is really great. And
I appreciate what those words mean a lot to me, honestly.
And
it was my first time. And Jack's done millions of records. Doug's done millions. I've done millions, but I've never done something like this.
Not where you've been so out
like
front.
You guys, the journalists, love it. It's huge.
Yeah, and if there's any way that Revolution Saints can open that Canadian tour, please make it happen, because that would just be.
Oh, dude, I would love to, but I don't think the Journey guys would like it too much. It's a little bit like, well, dude, you're doing double duty. You're not putting as much into Journey. We're a little upset.
Oh, come on.
Journey's my number one priority, so I've got to do that. But
you got to do that.
We're definitely going to tour. If we can get shows, we are going to be there.
Good.
As long as schedules permit.
Very much looking forward to it, and very much looking forward to that July 28th show. And again, I'm not kidding. If you want me to drive you around town and show you, I'll be more than happy to.
Dude, I would love it. You've got my cell number. Please, anything, call me. I would love to have you guys help us out. We would love to see the video. It'd be great. Yeah,
absolutely. And Dean, my pleasure. And I wish I personally had another hour to do this, but I unfortunately have to go. But thank you, and thank you for
Thank you, dude. That was a great interview, and it was just not just an interview. It was just a nice talk.
Yes,
it was really nice. Really nice one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, Dean.
Talk
to you. See you in July.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And there you have it, folks, my interview with Deen Castronovo of Journey and Revolution Saints. During our interview, you had a chance to hear us talk about a song called To Mend a Broken Heart from the band Eclipse. Well, they are back in 2015 with a new album called Armageddonize. Both Armageddonize and the Revolution Saints are definitely going to go head-to-head as the two potential best melodic rock albums of 2015. And so I tracked down lead singer and guitarist of Eclipse, Eric Martinson, for a chat, and that's going to be coming up in a couple of minutes. Eric was also involved in a band called Ammunition, and their new album that came out at the beginning of 2015 called Shanghai is your third best album of 2015, certainly in the melodic hard rock genre. So let's sit back, let's listen to Eric Martinson. And if you haven't discovered Eclipse, boy, I certainly encourage you to do so. Their last two albums, Are You Ready to Rock and Bleed and Scream, are definitely essential for any melodic hard rock fan. Hey, let's just sit back and enjoy my chat with Eric. Here's Eric Martinson of Eclipse.
Good day. How are you?
Good, good. So you're over in Sweden, of course?
Yeah, I'm over in Sweden, and it's very cold and there's a lot of snow at the moment.
Sounds a little bit like Montreal, actually. So
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Let me just quickly ask you about Sweden. There is so much good rock coming out of there. You guys, there's Work of Art, there's Wet, Heat, Europe. I mean, it just doesn't seem to stop these days. What's sort of going on in Sweden?
I don't know. It's a healthy rock scene here, and it's there's a lot of band. I think good bands inspire other bands to be good, and I think I can't. It's not really a competition, but when you listen to a new album by another band, if they're good, you want to be just as good or better. So I guess that was one reason, and there's a lot of kids playing music, and it's, as I said, it's cold, it's dark, and there's a lot of snow. So what you gonna do? You can ski during the day hours, but then during the night you play guitar or
you got to rock,
and drink beer,
and drink beer. Now,
that's we're good at. We drink a lot of beer here.
I love Sweden. I've been many times. It's such a great country.
Yeah, thanks. Cool.
Now, let's talk about, first of all, the new album, Armageddonize. Absolutely fantastic album. Tell me about how it came together, putting it together, writing the songs. Are you sort of in charge of the whole thing?
I guess you can say so. It's me and the guitarist. We write the kind of the lion part of the album together, and but I guess we're producing this together, but it's my studio, and we kind of I mixed the whole album, and I mastered the whole album and recorded. So this album was recorded really quickly. We spent under 3 months from starting or writing the first song until we delivered the final masters to the record label. So it was for us, that's very quick work.
Now I see the band has lots of shows lined up in Europe and stuff. Tell me a little bit about the challenges of trying to bring Eclipse over to North America or Japan or other markets outside of Europe.
The problem is the problem is economy, and and it's not the only economy. A lot of people don't know who we are, and most people in the States have no clue who we are. And it doesn't matter if a promoter book a show in New York, I guess there will be 10 people there. I have no idea, So I think that is the big problem. We got to kind of have some commercial success in a way over there. Otherwise, there's no reason for promoters to take us over there. But we are trying to do at least a small club tour in the US.
Okay.
Just to get started, getting over there and try to build cover some ground.
So what is sort of the way that you build ground these days? I mean, back in the day, you had a label that sent you a lot of money and decided that you had to go somewhere. Those days are over.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you do?
You have to do it all yourself. We even record our album in my own studio. So but I designed the T-shirts myself, and we do have. But we have a promoter who's booking the gigs. But it's a lot of work for. Back in the days, you can just be a band member and almost drink beer and write songs and play guitar, and that's it. And some other guy would fix it all. But nowadays, you have to run your own company, kind of.
Yeah. So let's look at all your companies. You got Blowout Productions.
Yeah.
Which I guess also includes the Blowout Studios.
Yeah.
Are you more interested in producing, or are you more interested in actually being the artist?
I love both. I wouldn't be happy just having one of them. I guess I think just being an artist and just doing your own stuff. It's kind of when you work with others. It gives you inspiration and gives you some new input into the music life you have, and you know, all the stuff I do for others, you know, I that input, the thing that will work in Eclipse, I'll take that into our band. And I think it's kind of, it helps in both directions. And the things I learn as an artist in Eclipse, I give to other artists when in my studio when I'm producing them. So.
Yeah, I do want to talk about some of these other bands that you played or are part of the band of Age, Sten Nilsen's Ammunition. The new album is Shanghai, which is by far, well, you know what, the Eclipse album just came out, but up until the Eclipse album, it was by far the best album of 2015 and definitely going to be top 10 this year.
Yeah, it's a great album. I love the album. I think it's everything I love about classic rock, and it's just all the bands and all the stuff that I love about classic rock. I think we kind of incorporated it all in one album.
Yeah, so tell me that. I mean, you've got an album that came out in January with the Ammunition. You've got Eclipse that came out in February. Tell me a little bit about how you decide what songs go where. How involved are you with Ammunition? Is it really Age? Is it his band and then you just sort of play along, or were you involved in the creative process?
I was definitely involved in it. It started out, he came to my studio, he booked a meeting. He was formally in a band, a Norwegian band called Wigwam.
Right.
And by the time he had a meeting in my studio, he wanted to have someone to produce or write with for a new album. Maybe it was supposed to be his solo album or a new Wigwam album. It wasn't supposed to be this Ammunition at all. But we started working together, and I loved his voice. He's one of the best rock singers out there at the moment, and ever for me. I think he's one of the classic vocalists. I really love him, and we started working together, and it's the kind of the atmosphere when we wrote the whole album was just great, and we gotta make something out of this. We gotta make a kind of more like a band, because it sounded like a band, and we kind of built a band during the recording session, the writing sessions. So it wasn't supposed to be a band, but it kind of turned out to be a band. It wasn't planned.
Hey, I wish more accidents like that would happen then.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So what does that mean for you, though? Do you go out on tour with them, and how do you sort of balance the Eclipse schedule in that?
Yeah, the release dates are not optimum for being both bands at the same time, and
right.
The Ammunition album was supposed to be released in September last year, but it's kind of it was really delayed for several reasons. Out of my, it was kind of, labels and economy and every other stuff.
Right, all the stuff really that care about. Right.
Yeah, and so it wasn't supposed to be released so close to each other, but we're still, now it's going to be an Eclipse tour, and we're doing a few Ammunition gigs here and there, and we're going to do more Ammunition tours after the summer. Okay. And we're going to do some festivals, and we're actually going to play a couple of gigs together. We're going to do both Eclipse and Ammunition at the same gig, so it's going to be hard work for me, but good work for the others.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, listen, in the last couple of years, you've put out basically 3 of my favorite albums. The Eclipse, Armageddonized, I love the heck out of it. Ammunition, but also Wet, Rise Up. Now, that's with Scott Soto, who, of course, was in Talisman, and, of course, he played with Journey for a bit.
Yeah, we for me, it's a singer from the old Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, and that's how we fell in love. I fell in love with his voice, and
right.
Yeah.
So tell me about Wet. Are you done with that project, or is it going to get another album at some point?
There's definitely going to be another album at some point, but at the moment, we as you know, we were releasing Eclipse, and Jeff is just out with his new kind of new phase, the Soto band. Yeah, right. Soto album. So, and he's more into the metal stuff at the moment. He's trying to work in that kind of style right now. And Work of Art just released a new album. Yep. I think it was in fall last year. Yep. So we're pretty busy doing our own stuff, and that's the way it should be. And when we have time over, when we have in between our own bands, if we find time for Wet, we're definitely gonna do another one.
Yeah, because that's definitely not a project that you should let go.
No, we're not going to do it. So we everyone in the band loves playing in Wet, and we love the albums, and so it would be stupid not to make another one.
Let me ask you, and this is going to be an unfair question, but sort of what is the secret to your success? Because all these albums and all these bands that I've mentioned that you've had a hand in, they're just very solid rock records. You really can't complain about anything. They're well produced, they're well executed, the songs are very catchy. And I'm thinking that you're one of the main ingredients because you're involved in all of them. So what is your approach to making songs, to songwriting?
I think it's I don't waste time on bad songs. I think that is too many bands. I don't know, they spend time on solos or different performances, and
Right.
that is, of course, you're gonna have a great guitar solo or a great performance, or it's got to sound great. But the song should always be in focus. If it's not a good song, it's a bad song. It doesn't really matter
Right.
how good the guitarist is or anything. There's so many albums that have so many, they have 3 or 4 good songs, or
Right.
top maybe 1 or 2, and then it's just a boring album. And they spend time. I don't know what they spend time on doing. They should have spent time on writing songs. And I think there are good songs, and then there's crappy songs.
Right.
It should be a great song. If it's not a great song, then it's a crappy song, and then you should throw it away and start writing a great song instead. So every part of every song should be have some. It should be interesting. Otherwise, it's not good. I think that is that's the way my approach to.
So when you come into making an album, into the album process, does that mean you come in with 30 song ideas and then bring it down to 10? Or do you come in with 10 and say, these are the 10 best I've got, and that's all, end of story?
Yeah, that's it. For this one, we have 11 tracks on the new Eclipse album. We had 11 songs.
Okay.
Well, we actually had 12, but June, when we were putting down the drums, and I was like, this song is not good enough, and I just in the middle of the drum recordings, we just we gotta throw the song away. I won't spend another minute on this song. It's gonna be boring. I can't even convince myself there's a good song. Okay. Then the fans, they will just listen to the album and they're gonna hear it.
And they're gonna say,
yeah.
What are they thinking? Okay, so
yeah.
You had a song called "To Mend a Broken Heart," which is, to me, probably one of the best songs written the last decade. And now, oh, it really is.
For sure.
I love that. Honestly, I love that song. Yeah. Now you've got Revolution Saints covering it. That has, Jack Blades from Night Ranger, Doug Aldrich, who was in Whitesnake, and of course Deen Castronovo, who was in Journey. Tell me a little bit about that song, and how did Revolution Saints come to cover it? I'm assuming probably has something to do with Frontiers Records.
Yeah, it has to do with Frontiers Records. I think they proposed the song because I think Serafino, the head of Frontiers, he really loves that song. Maybe it's one of his favorites. I have no idea, but it's a great song. It's a great song, and I think he kind of proposed it. Maybe you should try to do a cover version of this song, and so it's it's insane. All those guys in the band, they are they're really childhood heroes. And Dean Castronovo, he played with, it's my favorite drummer. Except for Robin, though, in Eclipse now.
Right, of course.
But besides that, it's he played with Marty Friedman on his stuff, and Bad English, and so many good stuff.
And of course, Journey.
And of course, Journey, of course.
Well, so it must be a huge thrill to have him cover it. Let me go back to the early history of Eclipse.
I should mention, I have 3 songs. I have the Eclipse song, and I actually wrote 2 other songs for that album as well. So I have 3 songs. One called, I think it's called Dream On.
Right.
I can't remember the third one.
Yeah, and
it's called. It's anyway. It's for me. It's just out of this world. Yes, they're covering my songs, and they're playing it. It's just. But the Eclipse song is the most, that is the most fun song that they actually chose that one. And I read interviews with them, and Jack Blade says it's his favorite song on the album, and Doug Aldrich will say, "What's the typical sound for Revolution Saints?" And he said, "To Mend a Broken Heart." It's just,
well, I got to tell you, I was sent the Revolution Saints album before Christmas. So last year, and it only comes out, I think, in March of 2015. And I played it, and I liked it, and I liked it, and I liked it. And there was a lot of slower songs on it. And then it gets to Mend a Broken Heart, which I think is track 10 or so. It's near the end. And that was the one where I just went, oh, I'm in. And then I was speaking with Andrew at Melodic Rock, and he said, Dad, don't forget that's an Eclipse cover. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And
cool.
I went back, and both songs are great. Now let's talk about the going back. You started off with Z Records.
Yep.
In the UK, a small sort of quirky label. They tried to do their best, but wasn't.
They didn't pay anyone. They never paid anyone. That's the main thing about said record. They never paid anyone.
Right.
Yeah, they screwed everyone. That's the reason why and no one wants to work with them.
Yeah, and you know, I distributed their records in Canada, and that situation came up here, so I know a little bit about Z.
Okay, then you know exactly what.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Too well, I guess.
But you know, who wants to get sued over an interview, right?
No.
Then again, they wouldn't pay the lawyers.
No.
But you had an album back then called The Truth and a Little More.
Yep.
Only 2,000 copies were printed ever.
Yeah.
And nobody really knew Eclipse back then. And then, of course, Are You Ready to Rock became this sort of sensation. Bleed and Scream became a sensation. And everybody said, I want to buy Truth and a Little More. I got to have the whole set. And the answer is, you can't. Doesn't exist.
No.
Even as much so much so that the band Eclipse went on their Facebook and said, if you have this album, please send us a copy. Yeah. Is there a chance that you might re-release it or re-record? I mean, because you did Are You Ready to Rock, the 2014 version, which was remixed and remastered.
Yeah.
Is it, fair to say?
No, we will not release them because the thing is, back then I was so very young when I did that album, and I nowadays I don't think it has so much to do with. We see kind of Are Ready to Rock as the first Eclipse album, and the first they are it's more like publicly released demos. We didn't have any producer. I mixed the album myself. I've never seen a mixing console in my whole life, and I mixed the album. And it's a compressor. What the hell is that? What is this knob? And everything was just. I didn't even want to sing on the album, so the vocals is terrible. And so we decided we're not going to re-release it. It's got to be one of those rare records. If you find them used, you can buy them. I know people buy them for almost $200 or more.
Yeah,
per
it's
copy
crazy
on eBay. Yeah, it's crazy, and we actually turned down just. I think it was yesterday. I wrote. There was a Japanese record label who wanted to do a re-released album, and we said thank you, but no thank you. And that was the second time we did it, and so that is kind of the reason we're not going to re-release it. Because if people. I've heard about Eclipse, and when they want to listen to Eclipse, and they find this album in the store, and they buy it, and they go, what the hell is this? It's a crap album, and I think it's going to do more harm than good. So if
fair enough,
fair enough, and I think But if you got a box of them, if you still have a box from by the time you were a distributor, you're going to make a lot of money on that.
Unfortunately, I don't. I look through everything to see if maybe I had one hidden somewhere, and I don't, which sucks.
I got one copy. That's it. I got one.
Then maybe you could burn it for me and send it, at least so I could hear it.
I will absolutely send it to you.
The next one is Second to None.
Yep.
Another one that's a little less difficult to find. There's a bunch of really good songs on there. Second to None, the song itself being very good. Any plans for that to polish it up and put it back out there?
No, not really. No, there's no. I don't like the album, so I don't want to spend time on that one.
So let me ask you about that then. Truth and a Little More and Second to None really don't sound anything like Are You Ready to Rock, Bleed and Scream and Armageddonize.
No, not really. But you, of course, I'm still singing it, and I'm still playing guitar.
But even your vocal style, to me, sounds different. The Second to None, when I listen to it, and I listened to it just yesterday, it sounds more like you're doing Toto, or more sort of very, very melodic rock, like soft, like the inflection is very different. Whereas when you get to Bleed and Scream and Armageddonize, it sounds as though you're channeling Van Halen and you're channeling more aggressive melodic rock, which I like both, but it's like, one hand you've got Toto and the other hand you've got Van Halen, and it's not the same thing. So when did you sort of decide to turn up the volume and get louder?
I think it's, to be honest, I didn't want to be a singer at all. I started, I'm a guitarist. I always saw myself as a guitarist, and the reason I'm singing on the first two albums, we couldn't find a good singer. We couldn't find any better singer. And I'm the guy in the band who sounded, least terrible. So I got to sing on them, and I had no technique, and I had no reason to be a good singer, because I didn't really want to be a good singer. But then we were playing a lot live, and I've done hundreds of pub gigs playing rock covers and stuff, and eventually the voice kind of, I got control over the voice.
Yes.
Because it takes a lot of time, and most people that sing in lead vocals, they when they are 12, they love singing, and they spend the whole youth and their whole childhood, trying to be their favorite singer. I never did. I never tried to be a good singer, but I did it kind of when I got older. I sang a lot, and the voice kind of, I got control over it, and all of a sudden I ended up with this rock and roll voice that I could scream as loud as I want and sing as high as I not really, but
right,
better than I used to do anyway. So that is the reason. So I kind of evolved as a singer, and and I've changed. Nowadays I love singing, and I see myself as a front man or playing live gigs, and I really enjoy doing it. But back then I hated it.
Yeah, and as a fan that discovered you after, I didn't discover you in the first two albums. I discovered you by Are You Ready to Rock and Bleed and Scream. You can hear the progression, and having heard Armageddonize, you really have taken it to the next level. So you can see that you're getting comfortable. But let me ask you about that, and then we'll probably end on this.
Yeah.
You're the front man in Eclipse.
Yeah.
You're the voice. But at the same time, when you're in W.E.T, when you're in Ammunition, you did some stuff with other bands too. You're just the guitar guy. How does that for you? How do you feel about being sometimes just a guitar guy or just a frontman? Do you prefer one to the other, or is it just, listen, I know what my role is and I do what I got to do?
Kind of the last option. But I really enjoy playing guitar, only playing guitar as well, because there's a lot of responsibility to be a frontman. Everyone in the band can have a really bad day, and they can be grumpy and just standing there and don't do anything. But
right.
the singer has got to be the entertainer, and it's got to be up front. It's got to have the contact with the audience, and make people have people come to the show and they pay money and they're gonna have a good time, and it's the responsibility for that is on the lead singer. But when you're just playing guitar, it's kind of sometimes it's very nice to take a step back, just enjoying the show. You're kind of enjoying it more, because you can just, it's almost like you're in the band, but you're still watching the band at the same time, and you don't have to is the voice good today? You don't have to struggle with anything. You can just have a good time. But it's also when you're having a good time and you're the front man, it's also it's a great gig.
Yeah, it really is. Eric, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I got to say, folks, Armageddonize from Eclipse is a fantastic album. I mean, every song. I got the Japanese bonus track, so I got 12 songs, which is you have an acoustic version of a song on there.
Yep.
But it's just wonderful. I mean, if you don't get it, you're missing out, and you really are. And same thing with Ammunition Shanghai. Listen, you're on two of the best albums so far, and
that's great.
Absolutely wonderful, and I very much look forward to anything else you do, whether it's more Eclipse, more W.E.T, more whatever it is. It seems to be that whatever you touch goes gold. So
let's hope it stays that way.
I really hope so. And
I'll do my best. I promise.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can get you over to Canada and have you do some shows over here.
That would be lovely.
You should definitely get on your booking agent to try to get you onto the Heavy Montreal Festival, because that's always important.
The Heavy Montreal Festival.
Yeah, that's a great festival.
Cool.
So far this year, Faith No More and Slipknot have been announced, but there's definitely room for Eclipse on that.
Yeah, we're somewhere in the middle between them.
You really are.
We are not Slipknot. We're not Faith No More. So it's good.
But you're great rock. Eric, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And there you have it, folks. My chat with Eric Martinson of the band Eclipse. Eclipse and Revolution Saints, 2 albums that are definitely worth checking out this year. And just before I wrap up, let me just quickly mention the Scandinavian Invasion. Eclipse is one of those bands out of Sweden that are absolutely worth checking out. But I do recommend, if you haven't heard of these bands, to check out Work of Art, The Poodles, The Electric Boys, W.E.T, Wigwam, Age, Sten Nilsen, Heat, Dalton, and of course Volbeat, the Scandinavian Invasion. Oh, and of course we cannot forget Europe, that has a new band and a North American tour coming up. Hope you enjoyed the show, folks. My thanks to Dean Castronovo of Journey and Eric Martinson of Eclipse. If you like what you're hearing here, please head over to iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to this show and leave a positive review. They are always very, very helpful. Thanks to Mark Striegel for providing me with an opportunity to get my show out via the Talking Metal Digital Network. And there you have it, folks. Back shortly with another episode. Thank you for listening. Bye now.